Imagine a man so powerful he could smash a baseball out of Yankee Stadium. Imagine a legend whose bat echoed louder than Babe Ruth's, but whose name history almost erased. Stay with us, because once you hear Josh Gibson's story, you'll never forget it. Born in the deep, unyielding shadows of the Jim Crow South, Josh Gibson was no stranger to hardship. In Buena Vista, Georgia, racial terror was not a distant threat. It was a daily reality. Lynchings, segregation, and constant fear pushed thousands of black families north. Georgia's fields taught him struggle. Pittsburgh's steel mills forged his fire. Historians believe Josh began working in the steel mills around the age of 14 or 15. At that time, child labor laws were weakly enforced, especially for African American families needing every hand to survive. In Pittsburgh's brutal mills, young Josh carried heavy loads through smoke and flame, building the extraordinary strength that would later define him on the diamond. The mills demanded brutal endurance, and in that crucible, his body grew strong enough to one day change baseball history. A boy born in chains, destined to swing for the stars. By 16, Josh wasn't just another face on the sandlots. He was a force of nature, a storm brewing with every swing. His strength was otherworldly. Towering home runs that cleared fences with ease and throws from the catcher's spot that zipped faster than seasoned pros. Word spread like wildfire. A teenager who could hit a ball farther and harder than grown men, a boy whose raw power made crowds stop and stare. Opposing teams would pack extra players in the outfield just hoping to catch his missiles. In those dusty fields, it became clear. Josh Gibson was built for something far bigger. In the 1930s, fate intervened. A teenage Josh Gibson was pulled from the stands to catch for the Homestead Grays. That spontaneous moment, it unleashed a legend. The Negro Leagues played a faster, flashier, tougher brand of baseball. Stealing bases, daring bunts, power hitting, and defensive wizardry. Dominating here meant something different. It meant you were the best in the truest sense. Negro League teams traveled relentlessly, often playing doubleheaders in different cities, facing discrimination everywhere they stopped. Denied hotels, denied restaurants, they slept on buses and ate out of paper bags. Yet, through it all, Josh Gibson shone like a star no hardship could dim. With the Homestead Grays and the Pittsburgh Crawfords, Gibson wasn't just a player, he was the heartbeat of two dynasties. They called him the Black Babe Ruth, but many insisted, no, Babe Ruth was the white Josh Gibson. Before you think you've heard it all, what if I told you Josh Gibson may have hit over 800 home runs in a world that refused to let him shine? The next chapter? It's a masterpiece of triumph and heartbreak. Don't blink. The numbers are staggering. Between 800 to 1,000 home runs. Mythical shots that soared over Yankee Stadium walls. Balls that seemed to chase the horizon. In 1934 alone, Gibson crushed 69 home runs, a record that mocks even today's sluggers. And then there's the shot that still echoes through baseball folklore. A ball that soared 580 feet into the night. During Negro League exhibitions and special showcase games held at Yankee Stadium, Gibson had his chance to unleash his power on baseball's grandest stage, even if the major leagues never let him in. Eyewitnesses claimed it left Yankee Stadium entirely, a feat no one had ever witnessed. Some said it traveled over the left field roof and disappeared into the Bronx twilight. Pitchers marveled that Gibson's bat speed was violent, a blur through the strike zone, unmatched by even Ruth or Garrick. One crack of the bat and the ball was gone before the eye could follow. Was it a myth? Was it real? One thing is certain. When Gibson swung, the impossible felt inevitable. In the world of Josh Gibson, the sky was never the limit. It was just the starting line. Satchel Paige, a legend himself, said it plainly. You look for weaknesses in Josh Gibson. There simply weren't any. Yet, in an America blind to his brilliance, the doors of Major League Baseball stayed bolted shut. Gibson wasn't just locked out, he was erased from the dream he deserved. Courted in the shadows, rejected in the light. His prime years, those titanic seasons, vanished into the mist of what could have been. Behind the soaring home runs was a man bearing invisible scars. In 1930, tragedy struck. Josh's young wife Helen died during childbirth. He was just 18, left to raise twins on his own. The loss hollowed him out. Friends noticed the change. The spark in his eyes dulled. Baseball became his sanctuary, but it could not erase the pain. Grief shadowed his life like a second skin. Alcohol became both shield and sword against his demons. Yet, despite everything, Gibson would still sign autographs, pose for photos, and lift young fans onto his shoulders. Behind the towering home runs stood a man fighting to hold on to hope. By the mid-1940s, Gibson's health deteriorated rapidly. Years of emotional strain, untreated high blood pressure, and heavy drinking took their toll. His once mighty frame weakened. In January 1947, just months before Jackie Robinson would finally step onto a major league field, Josh Gibson collapsed. Officially, it was a stroke. Unofficially, it was the heartbreak that felled him. He was only 35 years old. Thousands attended his funeral. Teammates went openly. They knew baseball hadn't just lost a legend, it had lost what it could have been. A game forever changed had Gibson been allowed through its gates. They mourned not just a man, but the future he was never given. But legends don't die. In 1972, Josh Gibson was inducted into the Hall of Fame, his name carved into baseball's eternal memory. And in 2020, Major League Baseball made it official. The Negro Leagues were recognized as major leagues.
Game recognized game. Finally, Major League Baseball has reclassified the Negro Leagues as major leagues.
Josh Gibson's towering feats were no longer folklore. They were now part of the official history of the game he had ruled in exile. Today, his spirit echoes in every ball field, every young player daring to dream against the odds. His great-grandson, Sean Gibson, carries the torch today, leading the Josh Gibson Foundation to honor the past and inspire the future, keeping the name Gibson alive for a new generation of dreamers. The Josh Gibson Foundation keeps his legacy alive, ensuring that no one forgets the giant who dared to swing against a world that tried to silence him. Josh Gibson wasn't just a home run king. He was a symbol of limitless talent shackled by an unjust system. His story is a reminder of the stars who shined brightest when no one was willing to look. Josh Gibson, a legend, a hero, a name that should never be forgotten. If you loved hearing Josh Gibson's story, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe for more Untold baseball legends, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a pitch. Thanks for being part of the Baseball Spark community. And remember, we'll catch you in the next inning.